everybody, and welcome back to the latest and greatest episode of My Friend Chuck. I'm Mike Richman of the Oregonian and OregonLive. With me, as always, my friend Chuck, Charles Tuggle of Washington, D.C. and the world at large. Chester, what's up?
Nada, Miguelito. Hanging low in the swamp.
How is that swamp? Is it good?
Yeah, it is good, I suppose.
Good, because Portland is flooding right now. It's been raining like nonstop for 50 hours. So I'm building a boat.
Yeah, man. Set up the dams and the dikes.
Pretty standard February, grab two of every animal Portland day.
Get your raincoat on. Essential sort of attribute and object of all Portlanders, all PNWers.
You gotta get it. You gotta get that good raincoat, and those little booties to cover your feet when you're biking to the Moda Center to watch the Blazers play.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta deal with the wet feet.
Yeah,
which is awful. Which is absolutely awful. Kind of like the Blazers right now.
Oh, segue. Speaking of being very cold and bad, the Trail Blazers have been playing some games, and they've been mostly losing them. Before we get into we're recording this on a Thursday. It'll probably come out later this evening for you guys, but the Blazers just wrapped up their pre-All-Star break slate by getting spanked by the Utah Jazz. Before we get into the debut of the newest Blazer, Charles, what did you like? Was that game just like sort of the perfect way to send this team out? Because that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah. If that last game before the All-Star break is going to be indicative of the season as a whole, then that worked pretty well. It was a matchup against what, at least prior to the season, looked like something of a peer of a squad in the Utah Jazz. I actually thought the Jazz would be very good this year, and they're proving my prediction correct. But a team that, we should be jockeying with for playoff position.
You would have assumed the Jazz would have been right there with the Blazers, or the Blazers the other way around. Maybe the Blazers right there with the Jazz. That's not how it has gone down.
No, it's not. And you get a good look at the Jazz, who definitely started slow. That was a pretty hideous first half last night. But the Jazz they have a really well-balanced roster. I think they have lots of talent.
They have a million Bs. Like every player, they have like
they
have like 11 guys who are like solid Bs who can get in the game.
Yeah, no, their whole roster is really filled with players that I really like. They're not filled with stars, even though they might have some up and coming guys that have some star potential. And Gordon Hayward certainly appears to look like a star sometimes. At least an all-star this year. But they just top to bottom, the guys that actually get minutes. Very impressive roster. It's even, Trey Lyles, their young blue chipper, has been somewhat of a casualty of the great success that the team has had this year.
Yeah, they just play Joe Johnson at the 4, and they've gotten rid of and Diaw a little bit at like that center position and or like next to Gobert or Favors, and Trey Lyles, who I thought was a really good second year guy, has just kind of slipped out of the lineup.
Yeah,
he'd be the Blazers' best big.
Oh, I would love Trey Lyles. He's a very versatile player. I think he has an interesting career ahead of him for sure. So that's a bit of a bummer, but I can't imagine the Jazz are too upset about battling for a home court position in the playoffs.
Yeah, they scored 71 points in the second half against the Blazers on 65% shooting after halftime. The Blazers scored 88 points in the game. So not great. Jazz could have beat them they could have skipped one of their quarters and beat the Blazers.
Oh gosh, when you put it like that, that's really, really bad. Yeah, Dame and CJ were awful.
Yeah, Dame. If anybody needs the All-Star break, it's Damian Lillard. Ever since I wrote about this week, but ever since he came back from that ankle injury, his finishing in the restricted area has been way worse. His 3-point shooting has been worse. And the last 2 games, he's been awful from the floor. Really, really, really bad. 3 for 19 against the Jazz last night.
Yeah, there was some good quotes in that article that you read. I recommend our listeners check it out because Dame's thoughts on that were very sort of telling. And stop me if I'm wrong here, but he basically intimated that the ankle is really not in great shape, and it might take with just the sort of grueling nature of the NBA season, it might take to the end of the season for that to get to its normal sort of explosive 100% self, and that's not a good thing to hear him say. And it also just sort of, that struggle and lack of explosiveness is reflected in his game. It's he's having a lot of trouble finishing around the rim. Just not getting that lift. He's just getting sort of smothered sometimes when he gets close to the rack.
Yeah, and he's not a big dunker, so he needs that explosion to sort of get into people's body and then finish with. And he just hasn't been able to do it. Some context for that article, and thanks for reading, Charles. I appreciate you, and I appreciate anyone else out there who read it or will now read it now for my friend Chuck's recommendation. But basically, the question was like, Dame, how's your body feeling this time of year? It was like kind of one of those sort of throwaway. We're at practice. What do we even talk about in these canned exchanges between reporters and players? And he said, I feel good, I feel strong. And then he, like, as he was talking, you could tell he was like, oh wait, no, I have this thing that's bothering me. And he was very honestly said, like, yeah, actually my ankle, I've never twisted my ankle that bad before, and it really hurts. Or not, he didn't say it hurts, he just said, like, I know that it's not going to be 100%, but it could get closer. I mean, a week off. He said he's going to spend the entire time in his bed in Lake Oswego. He's not going on vacation. He's not going to go to New Orleans to watch the CJ McCollum 3-point contest or hang out with Tim Frazier. Mm-hmm. He's just gonna stay home, at least from what he told us, and rest the ankle. So if anybody needs it's Damian Lillard, because 8 days off or whatever can only help for a guy like that.
Exactly. And Dame's comments were definitely not excuses either. So you can't sort of
agreed. They weren't excuses.
Him of sort of justifying things. It was just an honest, sort of candid answer.
It's the kind of thing you want athletes to do, is when you ask them a question to answer it honestly. And I think he did, with some reflection. And it wasn't an excuse. It was an explanation. How's your body feel? My ankle hurts. That's like, you would hope that when you ask an adult a question, they would answer. And with sort of the athlete-media relationship that it is now, you don't always get that. And so you got to appreciate that Damian Lillard would do that. Or I do, at least. For my line of work, I do. You guys can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a tough one, though, because his shooting is definitely suffering, and it's hard to detach that from the ankle issue. And anyone who's played ball has turned their ankle and knows that it can be a little wonky, sort of getting back to its original shape and form. So yeah, that's a bummer, and we need Dame to get those shooting percentages up, stop turning the ball over sometimes underneath the basket, and mount a sort of challenge here for the end of this season, because they're right there, they're in it, they're
not going to make the playoffs.
They're still in it. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not, but they're still in it.
True. No, there's no denying that they're in it. As Terry Stotts said, he told the guys after the game in Utah was, go home, be safe, and meet us in Orlando ready for the sprint to the finish. So, what do they got, 26 games left? I don't think they're going to go 26-0. And unfortunately, Blazer fans, they lost last night, so the 50-win season is off the table. Not going to win 50 this year. They had to finish 27-0. To bust that bad boy out. Weren't able to start that win streak. But maybe they'll go 25-1.
Yeah, who knows?
What's realistic? What's a realistic finish without looking at who they play? What do you think? Just any random sampling of 26 games for this Blazer team. What do you think, like, the best case scenario for them is?
Oh gosh, what immediately came to my mind is just 500 ball, but that doesn't put them in good shape for making the playoffs. So, Oh, maybe there's not enough time. Maybe I was being a bit optimistic when I said that.
See, I'm trying to get you. You've watched this team 55 times. You probably missed a couple games, 52 times this season. You know what they're capable of, and it doesn't seem like they're capable of ripping off like 19-7 even.
No,
that seems like really unlikely.
Yeah,
I'd say like their best case scenario is like 16-10.
Yeah, that's just crazy. That's just so tough to see. Yeah, I know this team well at this point, and I dislike this team. I have to be honest. They just they don't play pretty basketball.
Who would have guessed that their team? Yeah, who would have guessed?
Not me. I didn't expect a serious regression, and that's what we've been tasked with.
Well, even if I thought they would regress, I thought they would be like a 42-win team, like a little bit worse, but still above 500. I didn't think they were going to be like storming towards 35 wins.
Right. Right.
And I think
you didn't think about justifying the tank.
Right. I'm pretty anti-tank, and we can get back into this later. And I think me and you have discussed it. That this group, tanking is a weird thing for them to do. It would be a weird approach for them to take because I don't know if a top 5 pick. I mean, maybe a top 5 pick is better than the 12th pick or whatever they end up if they don't actively try to lose. But I don't know if that's like the solution for them. They need help. Like they need somebody who can help them next season and the season after that, like immediately, not someone who's going to develop into being pretty good. They're just too expensive. When your 2 best players are making over $100 million, I don't think you can wait around that long. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We'll see. But I do say that I am starting to think that they're as close as they are to a top 5, top 6 pick, that, they could kind of naturally get there without trying to tank. They might just naturally fall right there.
Exactly. You have to consider, well, look, the trade, in which we can go ahead and just move into the Nurkic for Plumlee trade. I mean, that trade makes the Trailblazers worse, which is not to say that was a tanking move. But it was a move about next year, not this year. Exactly. It's a bit tanky, It wasn't like full-on tank by any means, but Mason Plumlee is a better basketball player than Jusuf Nurkic, like for sure at this point.
Oh, not even debatable, I don't think.
No, not at all. Yet, the Blazers do have a new young player with some interesting skills and abilities.
Yeah, what'd you think? So sort of the big thing that we glossed over when we talk about that Jazz game is that it was Nurkic's debut, played 21 minutes. What'd you think?
I got to be honest, Mike. And this is, part of this is maybe reactionary just to the fact that the Blazers have had the most underwhelming, mediocre, sort of disappointing season. But I am really, really hyped on Jusuf Nurkic. like, first of all, just as a personality character type, the guy's got swagger.
Oh, dude,
and I knew this before. I knew he was a bit of a trash talker. I've seen him exchange words with Kobe Bryant.
From the bench.
Like, I know the guy's got a little ego on him and walks with a bit of a swagger. And
I mean, he wore number 23 and he was a big person wearing 23. You can't love a guy more than that, Like, that's someone who thinks that they are a boss.
Yeah. And he just holds himself with that sort of braggadocious sort of sway. And I really like to see that, actually. And for no real reason. Like, I can't say that that's better for the basketball team or the team needs personalities like that. Like, I don't know. It's a change. I can't think of a player we've had like that for a little while. So I think that's just a fun personality type. Now,
definitely not one that plays. I don't think the Blazers have had that iteration of, like, the smack-talking sort of guy who's in the rotation. I mean, they had hilariously Luis Montero last year.
Yeah. I mean, Zebo had a little bit of an attitude.
But it wasn't like that. Zebo, I feel like, wasn't as brash. He might have been more likely to, like, I don't know. I feel like it's different flavors with Zebo and Nurkic. Nurkic is, like, truly like one of those guys who holds himself like he's the best player on the court.
Yeah, I love Nurkic, man.
Well, another thing is he's been his like time in Denver ended like got really toxic because he was basically like, they don't, this makes no sense. I'm 22 years old. I'm here to play. Blah 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 blah. Throwing a fit, kind of showing up out of shape. Reportedly just left the arena during one game.
That's not good.
Yeah, like bad attitude stuff. So he's been an absolute say all the right things type of guy in his time in Portland. I've interviewed him 2 or 3 times. Just chatting with him and kind of like talking with him on the side for very, very brief moments because it's been a whirlwind for him in the 3 days that he's been a Blazer. But you can tell he's got it deep down, hates the Nuggets. He said, someone was asking him about, like, do you think you can show more? He goes, oh, yeah, they held me back. And then he, like, waited for a second. He's like, but I wish them nothing but the best, and I'm a Blazer now. And I was like, oh, dude. I was like, say it with your chest.
Yeah, I mean, his situation, it makes sense from the outside, looking at, like, what the Nuggets have going on. Jokic is a tremendous player. Definitely one of my favorite young players in the league.
Maybe the best of the trio right now of Towns, Porzingis, and him.
Maybe.
And that's crazy to think about.
Yeah,
I think you'd still take Towns, but I mean, Jokic is definitely in the conversation.
Jokic is a brilliant player. You know, I feel like I noticed that early in his career that he has great sort of court vision and intelligence, and it seems like he's improving and he's coming up to speed with the NBA game. So I think he's going to have a terrific career. And so that makes sense for the Nuggets sort of going all in. Maybe Nurkic feels that, administration over there, front office misled him in some sense, and maybe that's where some of the grievance comes from.
Right.
But in the end, I can't condone sort of pouting around if that's how he handled that. But
yeah, well, also like they drafted Jokic 41st overall. It wasn't like they took him like in the lottery and said, okay, we're gonna go there. They took a flyer on a teenage Serbian kid who turned out to be a star. Like, they didn't intentionally screw Jusuf Nurkic. It just, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Exactly.
Sometimes David Lee gets his spot janked by Draymond Green, and they create the greatest team in the history of the league. It happens.
Mm-hmm. Breaks of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, nice. But let's finish up the Denver side, and then we'll get to sort of Nurkic's play and what it means for the Blazers. But I am not... I think Plumlee's good. He's a very good player and a really good backup center. Would be incredible backup center, but he's going to get paid like a starting center this summer. So if he can't play next to Jokic, it's a weird trade on their end, I think, in my mind.
Oh yeah, I don't see Plumlee and Jokic having very complementary games.
Seriously, who's going to guard the guy in the perimeter?
Yeah, I don't really think that works.
Jokic plays like all his minutes with Kenneth Faried when he's good, and Faried covers up for a lot of things that he can't do as well.
Right. Those hustle plays.
And Plumlee is hustles, but he's not the same player as Kenneth Faried.
No,
he is similar in that they'll be able to have a passing big man on the court all the time if they split each other and Plumlee's a backup. I think that'll help them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to understand why they'd want to pay him upwards of $17 to $20 million a year to back up the best player on their team. That seems weird to me. But hey, they have a lot of cap room, so it's not. It's not an issue.
I also think that the Nuggets are perhaps getting a bit ahead of themselves in how they want to sort of compete. Maybe they look at this season going better than they expected it to, and so it's like, hey, we'll bring in this guy.
You think they're going to get blazered? They're going to get blazered where they just pay the wrong guys?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm not. I like Mason Plumlee just fine, but it's clear that he wasn't a long-term option for the Blazers, and I didn't want him to be a long-term option for the Blazers, and it's hard to sort of imagine him in other situations where he's really playing tons and tons of minutes, and he's an important part of a very successful team. That's not a knock on Plumlee. He's a good player, but
he would be an incredible backup center.
Yeah, but a sort of starter playing major minutes and being a big part of the offense, then he's got obvious flaws.
Yeah, he would be an incredible backup center. He could really, really change your team with his unique skill set and how hard he plays. But I just don't think like you said, I agree with you. I don't know how good you can be if he starts at center for you. But I guess I do know how good you can be. You can win 45 games 44 games in a down Western Conference. That's your ceiling.
Yeah, and played some nice basketball, but
yeah, he was good on that team. Blazers on that trade will flip to their side now. Nurkic helps them probably a little bit immediately with his unique skill set, but I think the thing they're most excited about is now they have 3 first-round picks in the 2017 draft. Whether they use all those picks or package them together to make a off-season move or to move up really high in the draft or whatever remains to be seen. But three picks that they sort of have to have action on in the next few months, I think, excites them for a team that feels like it needs to make changes. But on the court, in Nurkic's debut, before we talk about how he can help, 21 minutes. This was a heck of a line. This is why Charles is so hyped. 5 for 5, 3 of 4 at the line, 7 rebounds, an assist, 3 steals, a block, plus 18. The only Blazer who was on the... No, there was 2 on the positive side of plus minus. Nurkic and your boy Pat Connaughton.
That's what I was going to guess, actually.
Yeah, but Nurkic was a plus 18 in a game the Blazers lost by 23. So they were a lot better with him on the court. They were a lot better. That means they were horrific when he was not in the game. Ed Davis, Myers Leonard did not play particularly well. Neither did either of the guards. But yeah, Nurkic showed us a little bit of everything. I think I know the thing that'll make you most excited, but was there anything that really got you hyped when you saw him last night?
He's first of all, I cannot tell you how many times the Utah Jazz announcing crew reminded us that Nurkic weighs 280 pounds. They must have said that. They must have said that 6 or 7 times.
Well, it's because he probably weighs like 295 pounds.
The guy is big. The guy is big, and he moves well for a big man. Not in terms of that. He
has good.
Not in terms of that sort of like lateral sort of mobility, but he has really.
But he has light feet.
Exactly, he's got nimble feet, good hands. The guy's got moves, and he's got a touch around the rim. I really liked that quick touch pass out to Allen Crabbe for the 3.
Great
That
pass.
shows that he's got the skill, ability, and sort of vision to sort of make that pass, which...
Yeah, because I'm kind of worried he might be a ball hog. That would be my biggest concern about him, is I think he might be like, time to go get mine, and if they pass it to him in the post, it might not come back out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a legitimate worry. From what we saw last night, I'm not freaking out about that. It's not like when I watched Jahlil Okafor play.
Yeah, or Chris Kaman 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he can do that, and a lot of that, if you were worried by what you saw from him last night in that regard, could just be the fact that it's clear that they were giving him the ball, like, go to work, big man, like, let's see what you got.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, agreed. And I think they will, because they didn't have a post-up presence before.
None at all.
I think and not that those post-up buckets are like quote-unquote easy chances, but they are at least close chances, and maybe chances that will make teams decide whether they want to double or help a little bit, and could open up space for shooters and cutters. So he could help the offense just in the way that Plumlee operated as a passer out of the high post. Now you can sort of operate as like a scorer, more aggressive player from the low post, and offer something similar in terms of drawing attention and making plays off of that.
Mm-hmm.
But they, the Blazers, I think last season this is from Zach Lowe, but set a record for fewest post-ups in the history of the NBA. They didn't post up. They don't have anyone who can do it. Now Nurkic at least gives them that, in the idea of that. My favorite play of his last night was when he caught the ball on the break and spun and finished with his left hand off the glass.
Oh, that was a nice move. And he finished really well over Gobert one time, where he just put his body into Gobert, and it was just and they're both huge people. Like, let's be honest, Gobert is a freak. That guy is so big.
He could probably tie his shoes while he's standing up.
His hands are massive, his arms are massive, and he's a great defensive player. He's really improved a whole lot.
Yeah, like him. Really like Gobert.
But Nurkic, the Bosnian Beast, just met him in midair, and Gobert crumbled like a point guard or something. Like, he went flying, and he finished strong with his right hand, which is his dominant hand, of course, but through the contact, and he moves well, and so I'm excited to watch him work a little bit, and we'll see how well that syncs and integrates with what the Blazers like to do. But he's something different, and
I was gonna say
that's exciting.
At least it's a new player. If they're gonna be bad at this point with like sort of how this season has gone, they might as well be bad in a new way, because they've pretty much invented every way to blow a game. So they might, if they're gonna keep doing that, they might as well do it with at least a new sort of flavor on the offense. And I think Nurkic, if nothing else, brings him that. We'll see what he's like on defense. To see if teams put him in like a million pick and rolls and make him defend by moving his feet.
That's a real worry.
He's so big that maybe the Blazers, with the way they drop back on picks, he can help a little bit, the way sort of Robin Lopez did, because he's bigger all the way around than Plumlee or Davis and Leonard are, and so maybe he can. Maybe as sort of the way the Blazers like to defend, when they drop the center and kind of make him play center field, like catch the penetrating guard, he can help. But I am worried that if he plays big minutes, especially with Dame and CJ, that pick and roll combo could be an issue. But he's cheap. He saves the Blazers probably whatever cajillions of dollars they were going to pay Mason Plumlee. They're still, with the money they have committed next year, over the tax line, so they're going to be paying taxes unless they can make some moves. But at least Nurkic is new, and at least my friend Chuck has a new favorite player to watch while he slogs through 25 more Blazer games.
Yeah, he's a welcome. I think the defense is the huge worry, and if the Blazers have to tweak and adjust their defense, or how he's exploited, like you mentioned, with lots of movement. But I think that'll be a legitimate worry. But he's certainly a skilled player, and he needs to work on his fitness levels, though.
Yeah, it's funny that Terry Stotts said that right away. It's like he's got a good feel for the game, he's got a good touch, and he needs to get in shape. And I was like, wow, that is...
Well, yeah, I feel like I noticed that even before he fell out of rotation in Denver. With the minutes that he was getting, it just seemed like he got gassed a little quickly, and there's plenty of time to work on that as a professional athlete.
Can you imagine how big he would get if he didn't take his weight seriously?
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to speculate. Really, that would be haphazard.
Like, he's such a big frame as an athlete, and it's like, so say he's at 290 and he wants to get down to 280, which I know, I don't know if the Blazers will ever make this public, but I know that they have a target weight for each guy because they really pay attention to sort of your body and your measurements, and they do a lot of measurements, stress tests and flexibility things just to like keep a baseline on people, sort of like the Suns did. They're just not very public with this, and I only seen this from watching because no one will talk to me on the record about it, because that's how they run things over there. But so I'm sure they have a target weight for him, and I know that if you don't make the target weight, you can get fined. I know that Cliff Alexander, during his one season with the Blazers, was fined 3 separate times for being overweight.
Right, yeah, and that was especially a problem for a player like Cliff Alexander, who's not extremely tall. So it's like, what's going on? Like, you really need to get under this so you can become a more effective player, if a player at all. Yeah, so...
Yeah, so go ahead.
So Nurkic needs to improve in that regard. And I think he can look to a player like Marc Gasol, not only to sort of emulate in his game. They're both light, sort of on their feet, skilled big men. But Gasol sort of had to trim and change his body a little bit as
he was La Tankera, and then he was whatever the slimmer version of Tank is.
So I think that's a good model for Nurkic to look towards, both in sort of how to change his body a little bit, but also to work on his game. I think they have similar skill sets. I don't ever see Nurkic becoming a Gasol, because Gasol's a great
He's going to be like
player.
a Hall of Famer.
But I can see similarities, and I don't think they're unreasonable.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comp. I think he should become prime Shaq.
Yeah, if we're going to get serious here.
Like, because Shaq he was incredibly athletic as a young man, and he probably weighed 320 pounds. So Nurkic should probably actually add some weight and just become young Shaq, the most dominant big man of probably my lifetime.
Yeah, I take that back, Nurkic. Aim for Shaq. Become Shaq, please.
Marc Gasol's pretty modern, though. I'd be curious to see if Nurkic can consistently shoot from the mid range. I think that could be because the Blazers, like, Plumlee, he was so limited on offense that would muck things up sometimes, just because people would be like, shoot it, bro, from like 12 feet, not far away. And he was not a finisher like that. He's not a great offensive player. So if Nurkic has that little in-between game in addition to his post game, I think he can really open things up for the Blazers.
It looks like he has the shooting form.
And he has great touch. Like, you can tell he has natural touch. It's just, how often can he really make it?
For sure. It looks good, so that's a good sign, but you don't know until you actually see it.
Yeah, exactly, especially if he's going to play a boatload. I guess the other big news, the Blazers, who open up with a 3-game road trip out of the All-Star break, so they won't be back in Portland until March. They have 2 games in March. They play Oklahoma City. So it'll be a while before Rip City faithful gets to even see my man Nurkic. They'll just have to watch him on TV like you. They'll be getting that My Friend Chuck experience. But heading into All-Star weekend, no Blazers are there because they're bad, and bad teams usually don't get to send representatives, except for Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. My apologies. But CJ McCollum is in the 3-point contest, Charles. First of all, will you watch it?
No, definitely not live.
Okay, yeah. I don't think
I will watch the highlights probably on Reddit.
Yeah, I feel like... Will you watch the dunk contest live? Will you watch any Saturday night stuff live?
Actually, I think I will watch the dunk contest live this year, because one of my good pals here in Washington I guess he's had a tradition for the past 4 years to have dunk contest watching parties, and he's having another one. So he's having some folks over. So it's social sort of socially. I've been required to sort of come and watch. Normally I wouldn't.
Does he know that he's the only person in America who does this?
Yeah, but look, you got to understand about my friend Nick. Nick's a really smart guy. He was
Shout out to Nick.
My friend Nick Acosta. Shout out to Nick. We were classmates at Yale, and now we're both down here in DC. And Nick is also like the biggest WNBA fan you've ever seen. Like he is all in for the Washington Mystics, you know?
Oh, didn't they just get Candace Parker?
No, they got Elena Delle Donne.
Oh, yeah, I knew that was like an all-time great.
And he was so quick to share that on Facebook with the most genuine post of like, oh, this is going to change our career. You got to have a star in the WNBA to make success. And
oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, no,
That's awesome.
He's a huge Mystics fan, huge sports fan, almost all sports really. We've actually seen a Mystics game together. So yes, I will be watching the dunk contest with some friends.
Who you got? Who's going to win?
Man,
can you to be honest, can you even tell me who's in it? You can't tell me who's in it, can you?
Aaron Gordon is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon is an insane dunker. I'm just going to go ahead and say he's going to win it.
I think
DeAndre Jordan, is he in it?
Yes.
And then there was a guy who was a no-name player who
There's two really tough ones. I didn't think you'd get them, but there's two really tough ones.
Is Jaylen Brown the kid from Celtics?
Nope, it is Glenn Robinson.
Oh, that's I don't know much
Glenn
about
Robinson. Glenn Robinson the third. He's a really good in-game dunker. So, I can say that from when I watch the Pacers. I feel like I'm always like, oh my god, who was that? And it's always Glenn Robinson the third. whenever there's a big crazy dunk in a Pacer game. Pacers are actually good, so I've watched them way more in the last 3 weeks than I did in the last first whatever months. And the last kid is Derek Jones Jr.
Right. Yeah, I don't know this guy.
He's, someone who dunks. He's a rookie on a D-League call-up rookie on the Suns.
Well, I hope he's insane at dunking. He's got to be, man.
Me too.
He's got to be.
Don't you think he's going to be like that Flight White guy, James White, who was like basically signed by the Knicks so he could be in the dunk contest and then was terrible?
I hope he's like that. Well, not terrible.
Wait,
but...
Isn't that why James White got signed by the Knicks?
I don't.
Flight White?
I didn't even know he was on the Knicks. Was he on there for more than a season though?
No, just one season. But he was like the European YouTube dunk sensation, and then he was a Knick briefly. Yeah,
I know the name, but I got to put my money on Aaron Gordon. That dude is an absurd dunker. He's got bounce. He's got power. He's a great dunker.
Dude, I saw him in a high school dunk contest here in Portland, Oregon. He was in the Les Schwab Invitational Tournament with Archbishop Mitty, his high school. And he was it wasn't even fair, but he was insane.
That's not fair. Yeah.
Yeah. He was insane. And then he won an NBA, or he should have won an NBA dunk contest 3 years later. But CJ McCollum, 3-point contest, according to Bovada.lv, which is basically a PR gambling website as far as I can tell. They just send out odds to sports people, so we will write about them on our websites and they will get better PR. But Klay Thompson's given the best odds, then Kyrie Irving, then CJ McCollum, followed by Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, Nick Young, Wes Matthews, and Kemba Walker. On Bovada right now, 8-1 CJ McCollum. Klay Thompson with the best odds, 11-10, not even worth your cash. Charles, who you got in the 3-point contest?
I got Klay. That would be fun if CJ had a good round or two, because while the 3-point contest is not super fun to watch, good rounds are pretty fun to watch. And I gotta go with Klay here. He's just had
had some terrific. He was built for those quick release games. I would say dark horse for me is probably Eric Gordon, but I don't know if his release will be the way Klay shoots the ball. He's perfect for the dunk contest or for the 3-point contest. He has no wasted motion. That thing it is a pretty looking jumper. Eric Gordon, I don't know. Maybe he'll be a little slower, but he's my dark horse candidate to win it. But I would also say Klay's probably going to win. CJ would win if it was if you had to do 4 crossovers and then step back. It would him versus Kyrie Irving. I would pay to watch that.
Oh yeah, crossover mid-range competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now CJ would be better suited for that. I mean, CJ's a great shooter. I could see him having a great round, but Klay sort of knows the stage. His winning round last year was incredible.
Yeah, I think he also has a weird ego about it. That's like, people think I'm the shitty one, so I'm going to be the best three-point shooter you've ever seen.
I could see that.
Because didn't he beat Steph Curry? Was that last year he beat Steph Curry? Or he's won twice in a row?
I think he's only won one, but I think he lost to Steph 2 years ago, and then he beat Steph last year. Right.
And it's like this whole...
And it was close 2 years ago. And Clay may have even had a better round in the competition, but not the final.
Right, because it's not like that.
Right.
Interesting. Right. Well, there you go.
I mean, I can't even imagine the shooting competitions that they just have after practice, you know? Steph and Clay, and hell, get KD in there too, or whoever else. They got shooters, so
Ian Clark.
Yeah.
Your boy.
Ian Clark can shoot, man. He
can. Belmont's finest. What I really like is there's this, I forget which Rockets blog it is, but I want to say Dream Shake from SB Nation. I'll just say it's them. But they always say Patrick Beverley is the most skilled player in the NBA because he's won the NBA skills contest at All-Star like three times.
Because he's the only one who tries.
Yeah, most skilled player in the NBA. So it's like, if you're the best dunker in the NBA, you're the best three-point shooter in the NBA, and if you win the skills contest at the beginning of the night, you're the most skilled player in the NBA.
Oh, man. That's funny. They got to figure out another way to showcase all-around basketball skills. That competition is so lame.
You know what they should do is let the guys side bet on it. Because these dudes love... Players? Yes, all NBA guys love gambling on making shots. You think I can make this? Not all, but like a huge percentage of NBA players I'm around love to be like, $100, I'll make it from right here. You know, like they need some action in their lives. So let them side bet on it. Let them bet $35,000 on half-court shooting, and that would be fantastic.
Yeah. I want to see like almost like choreographed like passing options, you know, like a behind the back, make them do like a behind the back pocket pass or something like that, you know.
Yeah, I
just
feel
like bounce passes into little nets and stuff. It's just in dribbling between little markers, and it's just not interesting.
Yeah, exactly. They should have to do that Jason Williams off the elbow pass at a target.
Yeah, or they just have kids out there. I'd rather probably watch it if it was some kids competing in it than like Kyle Lowry or something.
Ooh, how about LeBron James Jr. versus Carmelo's kid?
Yeah, that would be fun. Gimmicky, but fun.
Yeah, and
I'll put my money on LeBron's kid.
Me too.
I've seen those highlights. They're incredible.
Yeah, he looks like his dad's the best basketball player in the world. Before we wrap up with some just sort of whipping around the NBA, you said you're pretty confident the Blazers miss out on the playoffs. You think that's how this ends? I think I want to address this because I'm pretty sure this might be the first podcast that we've ever gotten to the point where I really think they aren't going to make it. I think before this, and every single one we've done each week, I've thought the Blazers were going to finish 8th in a disappointing way. Now I think they're just going to miss the playoffs entirely.
Yeah, you know, unless Nurkic just does some things that are wholly unexpected. Because one thing that Nurkic, and we sort of mentioned this, but part of I feel like the Blazers' trouble on offense is it's become so stagnant and just sort of CJ or Dame running pick and rolls, and that's that. And it's just, it goes nowhere. And so maybe the mere sort of introduction of some variety in their offensive execution could help break them out a little bit. But this is sort of me obviously stretching and reaching a bit. And yeah, I think I'm going to have to change my tune. I don't think the Blazers are going to make the playoffs.
It finally happened.
It's disappointing. It's very disappointing. But yeah, we got some draft picks. Excited to see how Nurkic sort of meshes in with the squad, and you know, hope everyone else stays healthy and continues to improve, play ball.
Are you excited about the draft picks? Like, are you one of those fans who's like, are you juiced on the draft picks? Or are you kind of like...
I'm not really interested in the draft. I don't watch enough college hoops to like know about all these blue chippers. Or at least I don't act like I know about all these blue chippers.
Right. You know their names or whatever.
Yeah, I might hear their name mentioned, but if I don't watch them in games, then it's truly difficult for me to comment. So in that sense, I'm not super interested in the draft. We just haven't had lots of picks in recent years.
Right, yeah.
So that's
not since the CJ draft have they really like added meaningful draft picks. I guess Alan Crabb or whatever, but still.
Yeah, and I don't know. We've had, I guess it's also, I think a lot about with the draft, just the importance of a development culture. You see the Spurs drafting whomever, wherever, whenever, and they make pretty decent ball players in their system.
Yeah. DeJounte Murray and Kyle Anderson are like totally acceptable parts of the best bench in the NBA.
Yeah. And for the Blazers, I'm not really sure I have anything to say about their development. CJ developed really well. Dame came in really good and then continued to develop, but CJ especially.
You would have felt better. You would have felt better last year than this year.
Yeah.
You would have felt like Alan Crabb's taking steps in the right direction.
Myers Leonard, and I'm like, oh, maybe the team doesn't really develop well. So if we get a good pick, there's never any guarantee that it'll be a star or even an important sort of contributing player for you. So while it might be fun in the middle of the summer to have a little topic of conversation about some draft players, I'm not super jazzed about it.
Yeah, I can understand it. I do think there is a type of person who does look at the 3 picks and say, hey, if we get one of those, nail one of those, that's the franchise changer.
And that'd be awesome. That'd be absolutely awesome. But
I have trouble thinking of it like that because they're probably going to end up with picks like, 12, 21, and 28. Maybe 12, 21, and 27 or something like that.
Yeah, those are not very sexy.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard for me to get juiced to be like, ooh, end of the lottery and 2 middle 20s picks or 2 20s picks like that. You definitely can. You can pick a winner at almost every spot in the first 40 picks. I feel like it's possible, just unlikely as you get deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much all the draft analysis says they got to be a top 5 pick to really most likely to have any chance to pop. So, yeah, I think this summer is when the Blazers make serious moves, whether that is draft or make trades. Because I think we probably won't do one of these ahead of the trade deadline unless they do make some trades, and then we'll sort of do some trade analysis stuff. But we've talked about this a bunch, so I don't want to get into it. But I just think unless there was a major teardown, it seems unlikely that the Blazers are going to be looking totally different by next week. Are you still on board with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. In terms of the sort of short-term sort of changes in the Blazers, I'm just most excited about seeing Nurkic. Not so much painting all my hopes on some glorious draft pick.
Yeah. I know Blazer fans, at least the ones who are very loud on Twitter, really want the team to trade Myers Leonard. I don't think the Blazers are going to trade him for nothing just because the fan base doesn't like him, though. I hate to tell everyone.
Who is that? You dropped off for just a second. I didn't hear the name.
Oh, sorry. Myers Leonard.
Oh,
Myers.
Right. Yeah, I would have.
He is people. Yeah, people have lost their patience with him. I feel like if Twitter's taught me anything, it's how angry people are at Myers Leonard. You tweet anything about him, you're like, it's a crap storm.
Mm. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. He's disappointing.
I know, and he's not as endearing as Ed. Ed's been disappointing, but but Ed Davis, you still, you can't watch Ed Davis play and really be too mad at him because look what he does, goes hard.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't place many expectations on Ed Davis, and maybe I place some on Myers Leonard. Maybe that's the difference a little bit. Yeah,
high draft pick, $40 million contract, totally different. You're right. That's fair. Yeah, I don't think the Blazers are gonna make the playoffs because the Evan Turner injury. I think that sunk them.
Out for 5 weeks or so, right?
Yeah, probably about 3 weeks or so after the All-Star break.
Okay.
So
yeah, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to miss 17, 18 games, 15 to 18 games, so that'll be tough for him. You got anything else, Charles? You want to get out of here?
No, let's get out of here. We've dedicated enough time to this Blazers team.
Oh, man, that's tough.
Let's let them rest. They need the rest. Dame needs the rest.
They do. Let's give them that All-Star break off. Get your ankles right. Get your minds right. And come back for more, my friend Chuck. Shout out to my homie Oscar. I know Oscar likes to listen to this while he does dishes, so hope you clean those dishes good, man.
That's a good combination. Some menial work and some podcasting or music or whatever your preference is.
Dude, their only preference is my friend.
I guess I was thinking of myself, and I don't sit around listening to our podcast.
Well, damn it, Charles. This is the part of the podcast where we promote ourselves. We spend the other time being disparaging. You have to get into promotion.
Best podcast ever.
Thank you. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Definitely better than the Rip City Report. Let the rivalry live on.
If you're looking for my content, anything I write, or this podcast, or whatever else in the world I do, videos and the whole new media world, you can find it OregonLive.com/Blazers. If you're looking for me on Twitter, I'm at Mike G. Rich. If you want to see Charles's insights to the world, he's on Twitter at MCHellenarls. We really appreciate you guys. We like doing this. It's fun. It's a often boring Blazer season. At least you get to talk it out and think it through and find out which giant Bosnian person Charles really enjoys. Charles, have a good one, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you too, brother.